More than a decade ago, I read one of the best and most interesting books of my life called The Geography of Bliss, where an author traveled all around the world trying to find the world's happiest and, at times, unhappiest people. Today, we have a list of who the world's unhappiest people are by statistics. I'm going to share that list with you. Where are the happiest folks? Where are the unhappiest folks? And what can you learn as a global citizen? The methodology, it seems, for the Geography of Bliss, as good of a book as it was methodology that I often frown upon because it's very centric on who's an employee and how much time you get off, and it doesn't really speak to the entrepreneurs and investors that we work with here at Nomad Capitalist. And so the happiest countries included the Netherlands and Switzerland, tax-friendly Switzerland, Bhutan, which proves that emerging countries that don't have as much development can have very, very, very happy people. It's actually their policy there. Talked about countries like Iceland, talked about Thailand, and others. Philippines scored very highly. Those are places where, in some cases, people don't overthink. In some cases, people are happy with less. In some cases, people are just very content living unmaterialistic lives in societies where they have everything. And the good news is, you can move to Switzerland. You can take advantage of their tax policy. You can move to Thailand. You can get an investor visa or a Thai elite visa. You can move to some of these countries, lower your taxes, potentially increase your happiness. And so that's something that's worth doing. But I'm going to tell you where the unhappiest people are and what I think you should learn from that. I'm Andrew Henderson, founder of Nomad Capitalist. We've helped over 1,000 high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals over the last decade, built a team of experts around the world who help people legally reduce their taxes offshore, increase their options with things like second passports, and grow their opportunities all around the world, because there is always a bull market somewhere, and you can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. So I came across an article, totally different pitch from the Geography of Bliss. This is on Gallup, saying who are the unhappiest people in the world. And again, it follows a very kind of common methodology. Last year, it says Afghanistan and Lebanon posted the highest scores in the world, 59 and 58, on the Gallup Negative Experience Index, which is a composite measure of people's daily experiences of sadness, stress, worry, anger, and physical pain. No doubt, two countries that were very difficult to live in, very sad to hear about in the last year. And so they say higher scores in the index mean more of a population is experiencing these emotions. This is a formal test. You see on social media different studies about how, in the last 24 hours, 48% of Turks have been upset about something, or, whatever percentage of whomever have been anxious about something. This is an actual negative experience index where they go through and rank where are people experiencing basically the most stress. And so if you look at it that way, of course, Afghanistan's number one, then Lebanon, Iraq scored very highly at number three, Sierra Leone, Jordan, Turkey actually came in at 46. Bangladesh, Ecuador, Guinea, and Benin. And so you don't see too many countries with the exception of Turkey, which has a citizenship by investment program, Ecuador, which people sometimes move to if they want to be away from it all. There's a residence program. You invest a little bit of money in Ecuador, you can go and get a residence, work towards citizenship. Other than that, those are countries that you would never move to, right? And yet I look at it as the list of happy places, all the common places. You always say, Denmark, the happiest people in the world. Why? Happy because they're giving almost all their money to the government? What is that? That's like 57% tax rates over there. Or Sweden, they're the happiest. And so you have to start asking yourself, right? Why is it that people in these high-tax developed countries are often listed as the happiest? One of the things I liked about Geography of Bliss is he went to Bhutan, a country most people haven't even heard of, certainly couldn't find it on a map in many cases, and said, hey, they're also pretty happy here. Philippines, Thailand, not that developed, but they like to smile. They like to be happy. Again, he said, Thailand is happiness is not thinking, was the name of the chapter. And so you've been told that the happiest people in the world are all in places where everyone has decent salaries and they're paying a lot of money in taxes. But what if your salary can be derived from working anywhere in the world? What if you run a business that you can run from anywhere in the world? What if you invest and you can just log onto your brokerage account, or you can trade cryptocurrency, or you can do whatever it is that you're doing from anywhere in the world? Do you need to live in a place like Denmark or the Netherlands or Iceland to be happy? Certainly there are a number of ultra high net worth individuals. We've had a couple of them, of our clients, who have chosen to live in Switzerland. Switzerland has a convenient lump sum tax regime for very wealthy people. And quite frankly, if I had to live in a place that's expensive as Switzerland, I would be happy knowing that I had a lump sum tax regime where I was paying one flat amount of tax for all I can earn, rather than going and living in some of the other happy places and just paying and paying and paying and paying. I wouldn't be that happy looking and saying, I worked this hard to make all this much money, And unlike the person who made $100,000 or euros or whatever it may be, and they're getting all kinds of free healthcare and everything else, am I going to really enjoy that if I make $5 million a year or $10 million a year or more? Is that going to be what makes me happy? And so the answer for me is not to move to Bhutan where they're happy, because you probably don't fit in with the culture there. But you see that people who don't have all the materialistic things can certainly be happy. Nor is the answer, of course, to move to these unhappy places. Do you want to move to Afghanistan? Of course not. This is the kind of trope that people use when we talk about how, why do you want to pay so much tax to live in the West? They say, oh yeah, just go and live in Iraq. You'll love it over there. Go and live in Somalia. You'll love it over there. Not realizing that actually there's some parts of Somalia that are actually better than you think they are. But that's beside the point. People probably aren't moving to Somalia. But would you move to Ecuador? And if you moved to Ecuador, would you have the same stress and anxiety of everybody else in Ecuador? You see, I think it's reversed. I think I'd have more stress. Listen, I've been to Denmark and it's nice. I've been to the Netherlands. I enjoy it there. But I think I'd be so stressed with all the rules, all the regulations. I'm giving all my money. I'm giving so much money to the government. That, for me, would cause more stress than I'm going to go down and buy 100 hectares of land in Ecuador with a stream running down it and banana trees and there's monkeys and I can just live in nature. And I'm not going to have a lot of services around me. And I'm not saying that's the particular choice that I would make. But if I'm looking at the happiest places in the world, to me, it's a lot closer than you'd think. Now, again, you've got places like Switzerland where if you make $10 million a year, you can probably have an effective tax rate of 5, 6%, something like that. And so that's probably a nice compromise that you would choose to live with the cowbells in Switzerland over living with the monkeys in Ecuador. But people are looking at these studies. No doubt, living in Afghanistan has been incredibly sad. Perhaps you can blame the country that you live in for being part of that. But sure, you're living in Afghanistan, you'd be sad, you'd be anxious too. But I think that there's too many people talking to the average employee, which nothing wrong with that. But if you're an entrepreneur, you need a different list. And so for me, I look at the happiest places in the world as places where people are nice. Ironically, they all happen to be, not that I sought this out to begin with, but they all happen to, for the most part, have some kind of tax friendliness. People in Ireland, incredibly nice. People in Malaysia, incredibly nice. People in the Philippines are incredibly nice. Colombia, not necessarily tax friendly. People there are some of the nicest in Latin America. People all over Latin America are pretty nice, but I found in Colombia especially. Those are just a handful of places where I spend time. People in Georgia may not be as nice in an everyday service setting, the country of Georgia. But if you get to know them, they will be some of the most loyal friends that you can make more quickly than anywhere else in the world. And so I look at a place like Vienna, where I've known so many people who moved to Vienna and they said, I can't make any friends. That's just how it works here. It's just not a place where you come in and make friends. I go to a place like a Tbilisi, and you make so many friends instantly. And even if you don't talk to them for a year, just get a message yesterday from a guy. I haven't talked to him in a while. He has always been there for me, and I've helped him at times. And I don't know that you'd have that in some of the places where you're supposed to be happy. So this is a call to redefine happiness and to redefine unhappiness. If you're successful, your definitions of unhappiness and happiness are going to somewhat be the same, but they're also going to be somewhat different. And I would posit that some blend of where you get to make the most of your own resources, where you are respected as a success, as well as where people are just relaxed and they want to be your friend and they accept you. That's valuable. And I think you can go to a lot of these places in Western Europe and they will certainly be nice to you. Are they going to welcome you if you decide to live there? Can you even live there? Right? The Netherlands has a golden visa program. It is not widely known or widely used because it's just not as competitive. Again, Switzerland you can go to. Can you move to Iceland? It's not that easy. Can you move to the UK? It's not that easy anymore if you're an entrepreneur. This is a call, as I said, to redefine what happiness is. And so this is one reason why I believe that not necessarily living in the most developed places in the world, at least for a good part of the year, I think it's the right strategy. Because you'll find people, again, Thailand, people just don't obsess over every detail in life. Would you rather have that? Or would you rather live in Denmark where everybody's figuring out how to bicycle to their job in the rat race to pay for a lifestyle and keep up with the Joneses? Again, nothing against the Danish folks, but I would probably choose to live in a place where just, things just are a bit friendlier. And so keep that in mind the next time you're looking for a place to move, or the next time that you're saying, I would never want to go there, thank goodness I'm in the US. The reality is you're probably a lot more stressed with the political division, with people coming after you for your wealth in the United States than you would be for Thailand, where you'd be largely left alone.